Aberystwyth. It's a picturesque town known for its sweeping views, historic promenade and vibrant university community. But behind the charm and tranquility, a far more sinister story was quietly unfolding, one that would expose the town as the unlikely epicenter of a sprawling, highly organised drug trafficking operation. For a year, Aberystwyth was infiltrated by a sophisticated crime syndicate made up mainly of Kurdish and Iraqi nationals that pumped hundreds of thousands of pounds worth of Class A and B drugs into the town streets. Coke and cannabis flowed in from England's urban centres, ferried by an army of couriers concealed in hidden compartments and distributed from safe houses, cars and even hotels. Legitimate businesses like car washes and BarberShops provided the perfect camouflage, ordinary-looking storefronts masking the murky underworld beneath. At the helm of the operation was 33-year-old Toana Ahmed, a man who had once arrived in the UK as a desperate asylum seeker fleeing hardship in Iraq. Granted indefinite leave to remain and the chance to start anew, Ahmed instead built a criminal empire, recruiting a number of loyal operatives to traffic cash and people between Birmingham, Swansea and Mid Wales. Two of his associates, equally instrumental in orchestrating the conspiracy, have since vanished, believed to have fled the UK and returned back to Iraq, where they fled. According to prosecutors, the syndicate ran a county line style operation that was not only calculated and resourceful but constantly evolving. A defining tactic of the gang was the embedding of trusted operatives directly into Aberystwyth's tight-knit community. These individuals, often moved around the country like pawns on a chessboard, were handpicked and dispatched in the town, where they would work under a radar of dealers, runners and fixers. Properties across Aberystwyth, from modest terrace homes to guest house homes, became temporary command centres for the operation. All these residences served as bases for drug storage, preparation and distribution. Inside, drugs were weighed and bagged, cash was counted, and weapons, including knives and even an axe, were stashed in plain sight. In one particularly disturbing discovery, officers found a large hanging axe from a coat hook in the hallway of a gang safe house, an unspoken threat that violence was never far away. One of the gang's most prolific couriers was a West Midlands-based taxi driver. Trusted, discreet and mobile, he became a linchpin in the operation, making no fewer than 37 round trips to Aberystwyth. In total, it's estimated he alone transported around 3 kilos of cocaine. He wasn't the only one. Couriers used an array of transport methods, including private vehicles, taxis and trains. In a bid to remain undetected, some even avoided staying overnight, completing their deliveries and returning the same day. But not all of the gang's movements escaped attention. In June 2023, 2 separate vehicles en route to Aberystwyth were stopped by police in consecutive days. One was found to contain 82 grams of high-purity cocaine split into 169 small bags hidden inside a stock and stashed in the engine compartment. The secondly was equally ingenious. A cocaine hole was concealed within a pillar of the vehicle, expertly hidden to evade detection. The scale of the conspiracy was matched only by its reach. 4 mobile phone numbers known as drugs lines was used to receive orders and dispatch dealers. These phones remained in base locations such as Swansea and Birmingham, while field operatives received instructions on where to deliver drugs and collect cash. Bulk texts would be sent out to known users with officers, while new clients were often brought in through word of mouth or intimidation. At the street level, dealers moved quickly and quietly, working short shifts before being rotated out. Some spent only days in the town before being replaced, while others remained embedded for months. Disturbingly, the group also targeted local women to assist in their operation. One was reportedly offered £200 per trip to act as a drug mule, transporting packages from Birmingham to Aberystwyth. Another one, who once worked at a pharmacy before her life took a dark turn, and during the pandemic she lost her job. A woman goes by the name of Charlotte, and she suffered decline in mental health and eventually became involved in the operation, her participation lasting just 4 days, but enough to land her before the courts. Operation Burley, the code name for the extensive investigation, ultimately brought the network crashing down. Acting on intel and surveillance, police carried out coordinated raids across Aberystwyth, Swansea, Birmingham and beyond. Drugs, weapons and mobile phones and cash were seized in large quantities. Some of the arrests were made in the very houses used as drug dens. Others came during more dramatic moments. One gang member was arrested at Gatwick Airport with a one-way ticket to Vienna, while another was found in a small boat, having apparently attempted to flee the UK following an earlier arrest. In total, 13 individuals were brought before Swansea Crown Court. So you got Toana Ahmed. He was sentenced to 12 years in prison, the harshest penalty handed down. Convicted at trial and given no credit for a guilty plea, he was also made the subject of a serious crime prevention order. The defence for Ahmed said that he was an Iraqi national and had come to the UK in 2005 and claimed asylum. He had been given indefinite leave to remain. He said that the father of two had worked legitimately for long periods in the UK before becoming involved in the conspiracy out of financial motivation. Then you got Karwan, Karim. He was jailed for 4 years after pleading guilty on the third day of his trial. His defence stated that the defendant came to the UK some 13 years ago and had been given leave to remain. She said he had worked in car washes in Swansea for a number of years, and at the time he was taken to Aberystwyth and he was a heavy user of drugs that was in debt. She added that her client wished to apologise to the court. Then you got Barzan, Sarhan and Ahmed Piro, both convicted at trial, and they were both sentenced to 4 years. So you've got the defence for Piro, said her client had only been in the UK for a short time before taken to Aberystwyth, and after a short period in the town, he had returned to the asylum hotel where he was subsequently arrested. The defence for Barzan stated his client had come to the UK in 2019 and he had no family in the county. So the defendant had been involved in the conspiracy for less than 2 weeks and had been acting under instruction. Then you got Luqman Jarjis, who came to the UK as a child after living in a UNICEF camp in Greece. He received 4 years and 3 months. And the defence for Jarjis said that the client left Iraq as a child and from Greece he moved through to Albania, Serbia, Germany and then to France, where he found himself in a detention camp without a family. And he said the defendant subsequently crossed the channel and found himself in a detention again before being sent to Birmingham, where there was a large Iraqi Kurdish community. He said the teenager began mixing with older people in the community and later found himself being sent to Aberystwyth as part of this conspiracy. Then you've got the other guys, Walid, Abdal, Darban, Khalil, Kastro, Omar, Muhammed, Hamasharif and Saman, Aziz received sentences for around 3 years. So the defence for Abdal said his client arrived in the UK unlawfully in 2020 and he had been candid in saying he had not been exploited but had become involved in the drugs operation for the financial rewards. He said Abdal had been put to work as a street dealer and that his involvement had lasted some 5 days. The defence for Daban Khalil said the defendant had been granted indefinite leave to remain in the UK and had been working at a warehouse and living a simple but happy life with his partner before making some foolish decisions. He said they was instructed why the defendant had gone to Aberystwyth but been taken to work in a car wash, though the court heard the assertion was not accepted by this prosecution. Then you've got the Muhammed, Hamasharif, and they said that the defendant had been working for the Chevron oil company in northern Iraq before an incident involving some kind of honour killing led to his family having to leave the country. He said his client crossed into Turkey and from there made his way across Europe via a lorry before entering the UK in 2017 or 2018 where he sought asylum. He said while there was a level of exploitation in the defendant's case and it was accepted his client had known what he was doing when he got involved in the conspiracy. The defence for Aziz said his client had been granted asylum in the UK and had married a British woman with whom he had 2 children. He said the defendant was remorseful for his actions. Then you got a couple of other people. You got Akasha Smith, a local woman drawn to the gang, got 2.5 years. And Charlotte Roberts got 18-month sentence, suspended for 2 years. Judge Geraint Walters called the case a particularly sad one, highlighting the way some individuals had turned to crime after being given sanctuary and an opportunity in the UK. He condemned the defendants for choosing to repay the country's protection with criminal enterprise and drug trafficking. While acknowledging that some were vulnerable or exploited, he made it clear that each had actively and enthusiastically played their role in perpetuating the blight on the Aberystwyth community. So what makes this case so shocking? It's not simply the scale or sophistication, but its location. Aberystwyth is not a city of dark alleyways and gang turf wars. It's a town known for its student culture, holiday makers, a place where until recently drug dealing networks of this magnitude seemed implausible, yet it was precisely this perceived innocence that made the town so attractive to the syndicate. Police and community members alike had not anticipated the presence of such a vast and interconnected criminal enterprise operating in plain sight. The judge concluded that the full immigration status of the several defendants would be reviewed by the Home Office. Meanwhile, the investigation to those still at large, including the two ringleaders believed to have fled abroad, continues. Operation Burley revealed not only the dark underbelly of a coastal Welsh town, but also the ruthless reach of modern organised crime. The people of Aberystwyth now face the sobering reality that no community, however remote is peaceful, is immune to the devastating grip of this dirty drugs trade.